And I think a lot, and just like with leadership starts and ends and fails at the top. And with the coach, it's on you. You set the tone as to what's expected and what's accepted. And you have to have the integrity to hold the line to also communicate that this is the boundaries which we have established, and here's the consequences when you violate that. And it builds again that trust factor between coach and athletes, and that's incredibly important. And yeah, I applaud. And that's the thing about great coaches, understand these things and put them into practice. And that's actually the forefront of what they're concerned about. Not so much about the end result of, hey, got the W. They're worried about the long term sustainability of a program. And because the fact is, we remember our coaches. Our coaches have, I mean, it's an interesting uh, external family situation where a coach can be like part of the family in a lot of ways, and you have to build that trust. And we remember our coaches for how good they were, as much as we have coaches that we remember how awful they were, but like for the positive impact a coach has on a young athlete, that comes from trust and celebration of that trust, and that's really important. That have you ever had any experiences as an athlete where you've had that issue of not having a coach that did not meet up to the standard, where you felt unsafe, unsure, and uncertain about them? Because that is dealing with female athletes in a male dominant space. That is something that's ever present as a concern, and especially me as a father, me as formerly as a coach with young women. It is something that I think about, but I can't really fully go there because I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't understand. And so, can you speak on that?
Yeah, 100%. First of all, thank you so much for bringing up this topic because it's such an important topic to discuss, and it's hard, at the same time, but it's so necessary as we put so much trust into our coaches and into our programs as parents, because I'm a mom of 3 kids too. We have to make sure that we're doing it in a way that trust is landing in a place that it should, right? Mm-hmm. So my experience, most of my experiences with coaches in the sport of wrestling has been very positive. Yeah. That's why I'm still in the sport of wrestling, right? Because I was lucky enough to have coaches that made good choices, who were coaching me for the right reasons, who didn't take advantage of their, of my willingness to like follow and like, eat up everything that they say. They held that as something special, and they treated me well. So I feel very lucky, for my coaches that were very impactful and influential in me. They made a good situation for me. In fact, I had a coach who told me a few years ago, he was like, hey, Tela, like in high school, there was the assistant coach was like, hey, I was maybe like 17. And he was like, mm-hmm. and the assistant coach was young. He was maybe 19, maybe 20. And he asked the head coach, he's like, I think I'm going to ask Tela out on a date. And the head coach was like, absolutely not. No, that's not acceptable. And that was before Safe Sport and before there was like really clear expectations of what that looks like and what that doesn't look like. But it can be confusing for an 18, 19-year-old kid who maybe was in school with, one of their athletes. But and that's why you have to have these conversations and educate everybody, because although I had really good coaches, there was other people in the sport of wrestling. And I would say probably, so like you have to have these conversations, because probably 100% of the girls and women who are in sports, especially these male dominated sports, in activities, are going to have situations where people in power positions or within the sport will go past boundaries that should be boundaries, right? The other day I was doing the Silver College, and I wasn't even trying to talk about this topic. I was trying to touch lightly and move on. There was maybe 75% male coaches, 25%, if that, female coaches in the room. And I said, what do you guys think? What, like, to the room? What is the percentage of women and girls who in the sport of wrestling have experienced something that is like harassment, sexual harassment, to whatever degree, like from the something that's prosecutable, right?
Yep.
Within that, like lightly prosecutable to like straight up put the person in jail forever kind of thing.
Yep.
And the coaches were like, I don't know, 25%, 50%. And then I asked the female coach. So that was the male coaches that said that. And then I asked the female coaches, they're like, 100%, 99%. Like, it's everybody. So like, as coaches, it's so important to really build these strong expectations of how you relate to your athletes, because maybe of course you trust yourself, right? And hopefully you trust the coaches that you bring into the room, but do you trust every other coach that athlete is going to experience for the rest of their life?
Yeah.
Like, you just can't. It's just like, you shouldn't. And so that was really just the experience for women in sports is often a little different than the experience for men, because somebody who treats you so respectfully and like might not be treating female athletes that same way. So like, I think that this is a big topic. I may have gotten a little off there, but I think
this is great.
Yeah. And so the conversation is important. It's important for parents to pay attention to. It's important for coaches. It's important to have with your athletes. Like, what are your boundaries? What do you accept? What do you not accept? Not because, and then you don't say like, if somebody violates your boundaries, you say like, when somebody tries to cross these boundaries, what are you going to do? How do you have the support? What are your resources? And I feel like if that is a part of the conversation of our sport, then we're going to build a better world for everybody around us. And it's not just in wrestling. It's not just in combat sports. It's not just in sports. It's just something that we have to deal with in the world. So.
I mean, how are you supposed to like trust an institution when the institution is systemically failed across the board, and they keep perpetuating the same cycles? As much as we are trying to produce better athletes with each season, we should also be producing better humans, or helping assist in the process of producing better humans. And part of that is dealing with like the social aspects of saying, hey, 1%, even 0.5% is still unacceptable, because the fact is that it's that 1% is still that one person, that small subgroup that's been now touched for the rest of life and been mistreated, and the long-term scope of how they view the world it's indefinite. It expands in its potentiality. So how are we supposed to build a system of trust in an institution if we're not addressing the things that come into conflict with that institution that we're trying to build trust in? And like, some of the people go about like that old school mentality about like, well, through adversity you build resiliency, which in two lights can do great things. Like, in one, adversity builds resiliency. As a result, it builds competence and confidence, which is true, and that's a very powerful thing. But on the other side of it, at what cost? At what cost did the adversity that we faced, the conflict that we face, was so damaging that we just didn't make it? And what I'm finding with a lot of athletes, and like my own writing, my own process, is that some people just don't make it because they themselves couldn't make it. And the other one too is like, they didn't have the trust in the system, the institution, and the community around them saying, hey, this adversity, this situation was too much that I could not handle. But I didn't trust enough in those around me to say, hey, I'm dealing with this, help me. Because if it's a team, the buy-in, the social buy-in of a team is that, hey, you got my back because I got your back because I showed up. But when the things actually get hard and I need your back and you don't, I mean, that violates the trust. And that's the issue of like, yeah, toughen up. It's like, well, yes, but sometimes it's too much, and we just don't, and the athlete lacks the skill, or the community lacks the skill to address that. And this is where having conversations like this and having programs built around it to help build a better community to break those cycles of pain, and also like have the have the positive aspect of how it's supposed to be, of like, yes, adversity builds resiliency, but it doesn't have to come at such a cost of permanent long-term damage to the psyche of an athlete, to their confidence. Because how are we supposed to engender confidence? Yeah, they may have physical and capable abilities in combat sports, but there's an identity attached to that. But that identity is like, well, I'm good at smashing people on the mat, but inside, I'm fighting these demons of like, I have to do it because I'm being attacked. I don't trust the situation. I have to prove myself on the mat because I don't trust those around me. Because if I let up, they're going to see me weak and vulnerable, and they're going to take advantage of me. And these are things that I have had to think about with my own daughter and with other female athletes, saying, hey, what are these considerations here of like, how am I building trust with them? And how am I building, yes, putting them through physical adversity and intellectual adversity and social adversity, but not at the cost of long-term social, community, personal damage, because it's more about life off the mat than it is on the mat. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think what I hear you saying is that how important it is to have like systemic situations involved in addressing these situations, right? Like it can't just be like an afterthought, or maybe, or we're just gonna like put blinders on and just like go about our thing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of our world. It's, and it has to be part of the equation about how we coach, how we build systems, like how we build clubs, how we build our school programs. So yeah, big fan of look at really addressing the things that are so often uncomfortable or difficult to address. And, of course, we want to give our kids the opportunity to grow and develop through challenge and adversity. But there's things that we don't want to be the challenges and the adversity that they experience, because, the people who make it through that are sometimes the exception, not the standard. And, we got to recognize that and make a change in our culture and in our systems to address that. So I'm on board.
Yeah, because I mean, as coaches and even as athletes on the team, we are part of people's lives. We are touching their lives. And are we doing it in such a manner that is positive, supportive, for the long-term benefit, that in the end, that when we're remembered, or that situation is remembered as a positive part of our life that has enriched our lives beyond the mat, beyond the cage, beyond the ring. We have to be mindful of that. And too often it's so egocentric, which leads to another topic that we were talking about earlier, is this egocentric mindset of it's all about me. But when the fact is, when it's a team, it's about us.